One question, just 4 words, and suddenly everything changed. Not loudly, not dramatically, but in that quiet, uncomfortable way where you feel the shift before anyone even says a word. Even if you weren't in that room, even if all you've seen is what's public, you can still sense it. Because the truth, it doesn't always show up in what people say. Sometimes it hides in what they don't say, in that pause between a question and an answer, in that silence that nobody wants to break. And today, that's exactly where we're going. And this is Pop Star News, the place where we don't just repeat the story, we dig underneath it. If you're new here, you actually picked the perfect video to start with, because what we're about to unpack is one of the most layered, quietly intense situations to come out of the Duggar world in years. And yes, quietly, because with this family, the biggest moments are never the ones you see coming. Before we go deeper, quick thing. If you've been looking for a channel that actually connects the dots instead of just recycling headlines, go ahead, hit subscribe, turn on notifications. This is part 1 of a series, and if you miss what comes next, you're going to be completely lost.
Because I promise you, this story is going somewhere you are not expecting. Now, let's talk about Joseph and Kendra Duggar, and more importantly, why what's happening right now feels very different from anything this family has faced before. Not on camera, and definitely not in court. Here's where most people get it wrong. When people talk about the Duggars, they treat it like celebrity drama, like just another reality TV downfall. And sure, on the surface, it looks that way. The cameras, the matching outfits, the perfectly curated posts that feel like one long holiday card. But that surface view, it misses everything that actually matters. Because the Duggar brand was never really about fame. It was about something deeper. It was built on the idea of moral authority, on presenting themselves as a family that had figured out the right way to live. Modesty, purity, obedience, submission, faith above everything else. That was the foundation. And when your entire identity is built on being morally right, when your image depends on that belief, the moment things enter a legal setting, it stops being just a situation. It becomes something bigger. This isn't like a celebrity breakup or a messy custody battle. When the Duggars walk into a courtroom, it's not just legal, it's ideological. It's their entire system being questioned. And for years, Joseph and Kendra were presented as the success story, the version where everything worked. Young marriage, a growing family, constant smiles, and staying far away from controversy. They were the safe branch, the ones who made it through untouched, the ones who proved the system worked. So now the real question is, what happens when that image doesn't break from the outside, but from the inside? Let's slow this down and picture it. Not the kind of courtroom you see on TV. No cameras, no press, no statements outside. This is quieter.
Closed doors, controlled voices, carefully chosen words, attorneys speaking in measured tones, family members sitting still, faces calm, almost too calm. Because when you grow up in front of cameras, you learn something very early. How to look composed, even when you're not. And a courtroom? It's different. The lighting isn't soft or flattering. It's harsh, flat, exposing. There's nowhere to hide. No angles, no editing, no control. And for a family that has always understood the power of image, that kind of space strips everything back. You see it in posture. You see it in eye contact. You see it in what people can't hide anymore. And that's where Kendra comes in.
If you've followed this family for any amount of time, you already know how she entered this world. Young, optimistic, seemingly aligned with everything this lifestyle represented.
She married Joseph in 2017, started a family quickly, and stepped into her role effortlessly. She smiled, she posted, she showed up. She said the right things. Everything looked easy. But this is where you need to pay attention, because this is where things begin to shift. During one of the most critical periods in the Duggar timeline, especially around their most serious public controversy, Kendra didn't step forward. She didn't speak. She didn't participate. She didn't disappear physically, but publicly, she was almost gone. Now, yes, others stayed quiet too, but not like this. Other family members still played their roles. They made statements. They posted carefully timed messages. They shared scripture, showed presence. There was a pattern, a strategy. Kendra didn't follow it, but she also didn't oppose it. She just wasn't there.
And for someone who had always been consistently visible, that absence, it matters. Because in situations like this, what someone stops doing can say more than anything they actually say. Experts who study behavior will tell you this. The clearest signals don't come from action. They come from change. The missing smile in certain moments, the way her posture closes in, hands folded, gaze lowered. Small details, but repeated over time, they form a pattern, and patterns tell stories. Now, let me be clear. I'm not here to define Kendra or put a label on her. I'm here to ask the question those patterns raise. What was happening during those silent years that made it feel safer to disappear than to perform? Because in this world,
Performance isn't optional. It's everything. You perform belief. You perform family. You perform happiness. That's the system. So when someone steps back, without explanation, without announcement, without breaking away publicly, that's not random. That's pressure. And this is where things get uncomfortable, because there's a possibility sitting underneath all of this, one that the courtroom moment starts to bring into focus. What if Kendra knows something? Not something vague, not speculation, something specific, something real. Something that, if said out loud, in the right place, would completely change how people understand what's actually happening inside this family. And what if what Joseph and Kendra are dealing with right now isn't just about the situation itself,
but about controlling what doesn't get said? Because once something is said, in the wrong place, in the wrong room, you can't take it back. And that is where everything begins to shift. So now, I want to hear from you. What do you think is really going on here? Do you think Kendra is protecting herself, protecting Joseph, or protecting something bigger? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I read them. And if you made it this far, don't forget to hit like. It really helps the video reach more people. Subscribe to Popstar News and turn on all notifications, because the next part of this story is where things get even deeper. And trust me, you do not want to miss what's coming next.